So, welcome to the session. Atma Namaste. We had finished page 24. We are on the book Experiencing Being. We had completed page 24. Now we start from page 25. I hope you have the book with you. Let's read the first two sutras together. Yeah. If possible, avoid unnecessary direct confrontation. Try handling the matter diplomatically. When a person is cornered and there is no way out, the person will fight like a tiger. The Taoist way is to leave a small hole for escape. So you will recall this page is this book is about life, how to live a better life, and this section, the particular section we are in right now, this was about dealing with people, especially difficult people. And in the previous sutra, we had seen that, Master has suggested in general, even when there is a disagreement or there is an argument, there is disagreement over 2%, 98% or 99%, we are all in agreement on. So, make the person your friend, avoid the argument. Now, here Master is saying that if there has to be, you know, conflict, avoid a direct face-to-face conflict. Avoid unnecessary direct confrontation means when you are standing, head to head and confronting each other. So usko avoid kijiye. That is what you should try to avoid. Try to handle the matter diplomatically. Diplomatically means you can use some back channels, some other people and so on to communicate what you want to communicate. Because what master, so for example, when you accuse somebody, you are having a confrontation, you say, no, you're wrong, you are lying, you want to harm me, things like that. Especially when we suspect or we accuse the other person of wrong intention. So, there is something called non-violent communication. Where you will put the thing more diplomatically. You will say, well, according to the information I have come across, it is like this. Maybe you have different information. So you leave room for doubt. You leave room for errors. You leave space for the other person, or you leave room for the other person to save face. So that person, now it may happen in your discussion, the other person realizes he's wrong, he or she is wrong. But sometimes just to save face, the person may keep insisting. And and then if you keep pressing, you may end up doing the worst kind of himsa. Himsa, I mean violence, injuriousness, which is to humiliate someone, to destroy that person's self-esteem. So that is to be definitely avoided. Yeah. You must leave, even if you are sure that you are right. First of all, it is, this absolute surety that no, I'm right and you're wrong, that itself is a problem, because Master has said at different places that truth is dynamic. It has many levels, levels of truth. Then there are many facets. There are many faces of the truth. So maybe you are holding on to something and that person is holding on to something else, some other facet or some other level. So that is a possibility. I mean, for example, if you see this, it is flat. But if you see from here, it is not flat. So you may be arguing, you may be seeing this side and saying it is not flat. Other person may be seeing the flat side and saying, are you crazy? This is flat. So something like that. Leave room for difference in perception. And especially do not doubt the other person's intention. And even if you are maybe somehow you are dead sure that this is right and that person is wrong, still do it in a manner where it does not cause injury to the other person. Injury in the sense of humiliation or destroying that other person's self-esteem or causing public humiliation. Because that is then injuriousness. It is unnecessary. Yeah. So Taoist way, Taoism, you may be aware, this is the old Chinese, the ancient Chinese philosophy, philosophy of spirituality, of life and so on, where, what we call Brahman, they call Tao. I have not studied, but I think that's how it is. So the absolute truth they call Tao. So Tao, in the Taoist method, they have a lot of prescriptions for living life better. They have a lot of advice. Like Master is giving us advice. Some of it is based on the Taoist teachings. All right. So I hope the point is clear. Avoid direct confrontation, be diplomatic, leave space for the other person to escape, to wriggle out. Do not corner the person. All right, let's move on. Sutra number 3. When someone is aggressive and you reject the negative energy, it bounces back to the other person unless you transmute that negative energy into peace, love, harmony, and understanding. You see, it's simple physics. Some vibration is falling on a surface. Now if the surface is hard, the vibration will bounce back. But if the surface is soft, then the vibration will be diluted before it bounces back, right? So that is what Master is telling us. When someone else is projecting anger to you and you have an attitude of hardness, then the energy will bounce back to that person and may cause injury to that person on the emotional and mental. The person may become even more angry. So what Master has always suggested, you have to, of course, you are not going to accept that energy, but you reject that energy softly with an attitude of loving kindness, not an attitude of anger. Yeah. It's like, how you deal with a child. So an adult makes a mistake, you may be very stern, but small child, messes up his clothes. You will say, hey, yeah, it's a child. Let me take care of the child. You remember somewhere Master talked about young soul in adult body. So something like that you can remember. So that will help you make your energy soft. Okay, let's move on. Balance aggressiveness and severity by practicing mercy and compassion. Touch your heart before saying something forceful. When by forceful, what it means is something aggressive or something, when you have to discipline a child or discipline somebody or give orders, then sometimes you have to be forceful. But don't let your aggressiveness or your severity become excessive. That is what Master is saying. So how do you do that? You see, this is the great thing about Master. Everything he will give us a technique. So he says, touch your heart. So just touch your heart. When you touch your heart, two things happen. Number one, heart chakra activates. Secondly, your awareness comes on this thing that yes, I need to soften. It's your awareness comes. If you do something about it, you say, yeah, I need to be soft. And you can try this. It's very, very practical. It's very, very useful. If you are going to say something harsh, maybe scold somebody or discipline somebody or give orders to somebody, then in general, you may be your instructions, when you speak, the energy, it's of course your throat chakra, but the energy may be coming from the solar. So it may be a little harsh. There may be a lot of anger. But when you touch your heart, you become aware, you smile, and you do this, it becomes very soft or softer. So, and if you keep doing this, if you start practicing this, you will find that in some time it will become a part of your nature. You will be able to, you need to get the work done. So it's not like you are being, you're saying, oh, it's okay if you do it, it's okay if you don't. You are still saying it must be done today. But there is no harshness, there is no anger, there is no excessive aggressiveness. Yeah? Okay, let's move on. Promises easily given are usually not kept. Although this is a common saying, a lot of people tend not to remember this truth. Actually, this continues on the next page. Therefore, they commit this serious common mistake. So, there can be two situations. In one situation, I have to make a commitment. And if I make it too easily, then the mistake I'm making is that I'm saying something which I really don't mean, or I'm not committed to. I'm making a promise, I'm making the other person dependent, or the other person may now depend on me, but then I really said it without really thinking about it. So it's a mistake, and according to master, it is a serious mistake. So, in the old traditions, it is really emphasized that you must be true to your word. In the Indian system, there is a saying, Pran jaye par vachan na jaye. I mean, your life may go, but you should stand by your words. Something like that. And this usually will happen when we make a promise without really thinking about it, without really planning. Okay, when I have to do it, how will I do it? Do I have the resources? Do I know how to get this thing done? What kind of problems may come? How will I deal with them? Okay, so this is when I have to make a promise. What about someone else is making a promise to me? If I easily take that person's words at face value and I start depending on that, and that person had, very easily made the promise, then I might end up into a problem. So that is again to an extent, it is my mistake. So I need to assess, when this person made this promise, did he really think, he or she, did they really think, did they really plan? What is their plan? How are they going to execute it? What is their past experience? What is their commitment to their words? And accordingly, then you form your dependence. So if you think the person has just said, then you better make a plan B and a plan C. Right? But if you think, yes, see, the person has made it seriously, the person is now committed to it, yes, then you can depend on that. Yeah. Okay, let's read the next three sutras together. To recognize the shortcomings or problems of a person is okay, but do not focus on them or think about them over and over again. Do not keep on criticizing their mistakes mentally. This is excessive. Excessive mental criticism must be reduced. Be realistic. Everybody makes mistakes. If you hold this and hold that against people, you will never have a moment of peace. So, this is a great bit of advice. It actually affects three parts of our life. Number one, inner peace. Number two, good relationships. Number three, sometimes you have to use teamwork to get things done. So, successful teamwork. Yes, can you see that? In each sutra, master has addressed another part of it. So, in the last one, he talks about peace. Then he talks about um, relationships. And the third aspect of that, let us just discuss it, that you see, you have to understand nobody is perfect, including myself. Nobody is perfect. So you have to accept the weaknesses, imperfections of other people. And at the same time, make the best. Also understand their strengths, their abilities, and make best use of that. So when you are assigning work, let's say there's a team and you are a part of the team and you have to assign work to people, you make sure that work is assigned accordingly. Each person is put in charge of what is in that person's ability, what matches with that person's strengths. Somebody is very weak at writing and you give him writing work, him or her writing work. That is not such a bright idea. Yeah. Also, if you will keep thinking about the imperfections of other people, your relationship with them will get damaged. Lastly, this is a form of himsa or injuriousness, violence, verbal violence. If you keep speaking and if you keep criticizing verbally, or even if you're doing it mentally, you are creating a very powerful thought form which will affect the other person. We know our thoughts and emotions are a part of our radiatory field, and if they are directed at some person, they go and attach to the aura of that person. So what will happen? That person is getting negative energy. Let us say that person is, let's say, forgetful. Now you keep saying, thinking, oh, this person is forgetful, this person is forgetful. Your energy, the thought forms that you are projecting are only making it worse, not better. Yeah. So this is like very, I would say, very helpful information from Master. All right. Criticism from the solar plexus chakra should be minimized. It has to be done gently from the heart chakra with calmness, not from the solar plexus chakra. And let's read the next part also. If criticism is necessary, touch your heart chakra. Look at 5 good points of the person before you open your mouth. After you have seen 5 good points, then what will come out of your mouth will not be too hard anymore. Remember, everyone makes mistakes. This is really super, super, super practical, super useful, super effective advice. Really, please do think about this. And personally, I can attest, I have actually applied this in my life. I used to head an or I've headed organizations. And in the beginning, I used to be very harsh. I, my, my, I was very critical and I used to express it very, very often. And a lot of times I think I damaged people's, psychologically, because I gave them very hard, they were not very mature emotionally, and I gave them very harsh feedback or criticism. So then I came across Master Cho, and that is where I started recognizing, this is one of the first books I read outside the course books, textbooks. Somehow I got this book very early, and I read this over and over and over again. Of course, not this edition. Earlier, there was a different edition. I read it again and again and again. And I found this very, very helpful. And this is one of the things I adopted in my life very early, that yes, you have to sometimes, you need to give criticism. I mean, you need to give feedback, and it has to be honest. And if the person has weaknesses, you need to point them out, because that person has to work on them. But if you make it gentle, if you do it softly, kindly, then that person, is more receptive, more conductive. He absorbs it, accepts it more easily. There is a greater chance the person will actually act upon it. If I did it the way I used to do it earlier, which was very hard or very harsh, then I would find that people would either resist, because I was damaging their self-esteem. I was attacking their self-esteem. So they would be either resisting, or they would crumble, they would get damaged. So then I realized that it makes a huge difference where you give gentle and kind feedback. But it's the same thing. You are going to give the same feedback, but the manner in which you do it changes. And then also I realized that it is only possible if I take a moment to first calm down. You understand? And secondly, I found, this look at 5 good points of the other person. It would bring to your mind, what it did to me, I'll share that. It made me think, it made me remember, or it made me realize that the other person is mostly good. You see, like everyone else, mostly good, only some small weaknesses are there. There's a lot that the person has done which he has done well, but 1 or 2 mistakes are there. So my intention always was to help the other person, to make the person improve. But now it became an effective way. How? By giving feedback or the criticism in a gentle, loving, kind manner. And actually, I remember attending a session by one of the acharyas where he said that first you tell the person 5 good things. When you are giving feedback, first talk about 5 things you are appreciating. And then maximum of 3 negative areas or areas of improvement you talk about. Now, supposing there are more, then you again pick up five more things you talk about, positive things, you talk about them. And then you are allowed to talk about two or three more negative things. Are you understanding? So, the master here is saying, look at, but what the advice I started following is I would actually speak them out. So supposing somebody, did some work, I would first appreciate it on five different points. Oh, you were very good. Let's say somebody conducted a session. Then I would say, yes, you did very good preparation. You spoke very well. I liked the clarity of your voice. This was very nice. This five good things. Then I would say, maybe you can improve on this, or maybe, you should look more at the camera. Maybe you should speak a little slower and things like that. So maximum three. And if I had more things to say, again, five more good things, because that is where this other person becomes receptive. And if the other person is not receptive, all the feedback, all the advice you are giving, it's a waste. Right? So that is what I realized. And that is where, I really started, not started appreciating, but that is where my appreciation of Master Choa's teachings became really very high. Because it was very practical. You see, I keep saying this, Master Choa, the difference between Master Choa and some other gurus that I have come across is that Master Choa doesn't just say what is the quality to develop, but he gives us techniques, he gives us methods, he gives us specific ways in which we can do that. I hope you can also see that, and I hope you appreciate that in Master. And I would look forward to your thoughts on this. Maybe you want to share them now, maybe you want to give them in the group after the session. All right. I'll end the session. I'll stop the recording.